Every morning at exactly 6:47 a.m., Maya Chin emerges from the red brick building on Lexington Avenue, wearing her signature pink coat, clutching 6 leather leashes attached to 6 massive German shepherds. The dogs move in perfect formation around her, 3 on each side, their dark eyes alert, their steps synchronized like soldiers on parade. Shopkeepers setting up for the day pause to watch. Dog walkers with their single unruly pets step aside in awe. The little girl never speaks much, just offers a small smile and a wave before continuing her route through the awakening streets of Brooklyn. To the neighborhood, Maya is a curiosity, a charming oddity in a city full of them. Some assume her father is a wealthy dog trainer. Others whisper that she must be some kind of child prodigy. A few joke that she's the world's youngest professional dog walker. But no one asks too many questions. This is New York, after all, where minding your own business is practically a religion. But when Mrs. Rodriguez, Maya's 3rd grade teacher, notices bruises on the child's arms and exhaustion in her eyes, she makes a call that will unravel everything. Because the truth about Maya and her dogs is far more devastating than anyone imagined.
Leave a like and let us know where you are watching from in the comments. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Now let's continue with the story.
Maya's alarm screams at 6 a.m., but she's already awake. She's always awake before the alarm. Sleeping past it means everything falls apart, and she can't let things fall apart. Not now. Not when Dad might come home any day and find her failing at the one job he trusted her with. The apartment is cold. She pulls on yesterday's jeans, the ones without the hole in the knee, and layers 2 shirts under her pink jacket because the heat's been weird lately, clicking on and off at random times. She doesn't know how to fix it. She doesn't know who to call. So she just wears more clothes. 6 dog bowls line the kitchen floor in perfect formation, each one labeled in her father's handwriting. Rex, Titan, Shadow, Luna, Bear, Bella. She measures out the kibble exactly the way Dad showed her, 1.5 cups each, adding the joint supplement to Rex's bowl. Because he's older, his hips not what they used to be. The dogs wait in a semicircle, watching her, not moving until she gives the command. Okay, she whispers, and chaos becomes controlled hunger. 6 massive heads bow to 6 bowls. Maya counts to 60 in her head. They need exactly 1 minute to eat, or they'll get bloated, Dad said, and bloat can kill a dog in hours. At 58 seconds, she calls out time, and every dog sits back, bowls licked clean. By 6:35 a.m., she's snapping on leashes, checking each collar twice. 3 dogs on her left hand, 3 on her right, the leather wrapped around her small wrists in a pattern her father taught her the week before he left. Never let go, he'd said, demonstrating the loop. No matter what, these dogs will protect you, but you protect them right back. The morning air hits her face like a slap. Lexington Avenue is barely awake. Streetlights still glowing orange against the growing dawn. Storefronts dark except for Mr. Park's bodega on the corner. He's always first. The neon open sign flickers as she approaches, and he's already waiting outside with a paper bag. For the army, he says in his thick accent, handing her yesterday's bread. He never asks questions, just smiles, pats Titan on the head, and watches her continue down the block. 3 blocks down, Jessica's setting up the cafe, and there's a to-go cup waiting on the outside table. Hot chocolate, extra marshmallows, still steaming. Maya grabs it with her chin, unable to free her hands, and takes a sip that burns her tongue in the best way. Jessica waves from inside, mouthing, "Stay warm, honey," and Maya nods because speaking means stopping, and stopping means being late. The route never changes. Left on DeKalb, right on Carlton, through Fort Greene Park where the dogs can stretch their legs but stay in formation, circling the empty fountain, past the early joggers who've stopped being surprised by the tiny general and her canine soldiers. Back up Vanderbilt, left on Lexington. 42 minutes, door to door. Every single morning. From her 3rd-floor window, Mrs. Levine watches, like always. Maya can see her silhouette behind the curtains, the same window, the same time, every day for 3 months now. The old woman never waves, never calls out, just watches. Maya wonders if she knows. She wonders if anybody knows. By 7:29 a.m., the dogs are back in the apartment, Maya's backpack is on her shoulders, and she's running for the school bus. Another day begins. Another day of pretending everything is perfectly, completely, absolutely normal. Maya's head drops during math. Not completely, just a slow, inevitable tilt forward until her chin nearly touches her chest, and then she jerks awake, blinking hard at the worksheet that's supposed to be about fractions, but looks more like hieroglyphics swimming across the page. Mrs. Rodriguez watches from her desk. She's been watching for 2 weeks now, the kind of watching that makes Maya's skin prickle with awareness. Teachers aren't supposed to stare like that. They're supposed to look at everyone equally, scanning the room like lighthouses. But Mrs. Rodriguez's gaze keeps landing on Maya, staying there, studying. Maya, her voice cuts through the classroom murmur. Can you solve number 7 for us? Maya stands, legs wobbly, and approaches the board. The marker feels heavy in her hand. She knows fractions. Dad drilled her on them months ago, turning grocery shopping into impromptu lessons. If a pound of chicken is $4, how much is 3/4 of a pound? But right now, staring at the whiteboard, the numbers won't cooperate. 3/8 plus 1/4 equals. Take your time, Mrs. Rodriguez says, but her voice has that soft, concerned quality that makes Maya's stomach clench. She writes something. Anything. The class moves on. At lunch, Maya sits alone, pushing mystery meat around her tray. She's not hungry. She hasn't been hungry in weeks, even though she knows she should eat, knows her jeans are loose around her waist, knows her pink jacket swallows her more than it used to. But food feels like effort, and she's so tired, and the cafeteria is so loud, and all she can think about is getting home to let the dogs out, because they've been holding it since 7:30 this morning, and that's too long. That's way too long. Maya-chun. The attendance officer appears beside her table with a clipboard. I need a parent's signature for the field trip next week. Museum of Natural History. Did your parents get the form? Maya's rehearsed answer comes automatically. My dad works nights. He's sleeping now. I'll have him sign it tonight. And your mom? Traveling for work. The lie tastes like metal. She's in California. Business trip. The officer nods, distracted, already moving to the next table. Maya pulls the crumpled permission slip from her backpack. She's watched her father sign documents 1,000 times. The big looping J, the controlled scrawl of Chun. She's practiced in her notebook, filling entire pages with his signature until her hand cramped. In the bathroom, locked in a stall, she signs James Chun across the parent line. Her hand shakes so badly the letters look drunk, staggering across the page. An 8-year-old trying to forge an adult's handwriting. It looks nothing like a child's writing. It looks like exactly what it is. She stares at it for a long moment, then folds the paper into small, tight squares. Back in class, Mrs. Rodriguez is handing back homework. Maya's essay on my hero comes back with a gold star and a note. Beautiful work, but I noticed you're wearing the same outfit as Monday and Tuesday. Is everything okay at home? Maya's wearing her pink jacket. The same jeans. The same gray shirt underneath. She hasn't done laundry in, how long? 2 weeks? 3. The machines in the basement are complicated, require quarters she doesn't have extra of, need time she can't spare. Everything's fine, Maya says, crumpling the paper before Mrs. Rodriguez can say more. My mom just hasn't. We're just busy. Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes, dark, kind, impossibly sad, linger on Maya's face. On the purple shadows beneath her eyes. On her wrists, thinner than they should be, poking out from jacket sleeves. On the way Maya's hands won't stop trembling, even when she clasps them together in her lap. Maya, if you ever need to talk. I'm fine, Maya interrupts, and the sharpness in her voice surprises them both. Really, everything's fine. But they both know it isn't. The lie hangs between them like smoke. Mrs. Rodriguez makes the call during her lunch period, door closed, blinds drawn. She's been teaching for 17 years. She knows the signs. The exhaustion. The repeated clothing. The trembling hands. The too perfect lies delivered in a voice that's memorized every word. The phone rings 3 times before someone picks up. Child Protective Services, Brooklyn Division. Mrs. Rodriguez's throat tightens. This feels like betrayal. But doing nothing, that would be worse. I need to report a concern about a student. Maya Chun, 8 years old, 3rd grade. I think something's very wrong at home. The intake coordinator's voice is professionally neutral. Can you describe your concerns? Mrs. Rodriguez lists them. The weight loss, the exhaustion, the same clothes worn repeatedly, the child walking 6 large dogs alone every morning before school, the inconsistent stories about parents who never appear at conferences, never respond to emails, never pick up the phone. I'll assign a caseworker, the coordinator says. Someone will investigate within 48 hours. The case lands on Patricia Evans's desk at 2:37 p.m. She's worked child welfare for 12 years, seen everything from neglect so profound it makes her physically ill to false reports from vindictive neighbors. She's learned not to assume. Investigate first. Judge never. She calls the number listed for James Chun. It rings, and rings, and rings. Then, you've reached James Chun. Leave a message. The voicemail box is full. She tries the alternate number. Same result. She pulls employment records. James Chun, NYPD Detective, Narcotics Division. Decorated officer. 15 years of service. But there's a notation in red. Emergency leave, September 30th. Expected return, October 15th. Current status, no contact. Patricia's stomach sinks. She's seen this before. Officers who burn out. Officers who disappear into bottles or pills or simply vanish into the streets they've spent years patrolling. But they don't usually have 8-year-old daughters at home. She calls the precinct. Gets transferred 4 times before reaching Captain Morrison in narcotics. James Chun. Morrison's voice turns cautious. Who's asking? Child Protective Services. We're investigating a concern about his daughter. Silence. Long enough that Patricia thinks the call has dropped. Chun went undercover 3 months ago. Morrison finally says. Deep cover. Trafficking case. We haven't heard from him since October 3rd. It's not unusual. Sometimes assets go dark for months. But he pauses. He has a daughter? Jesus. We didn't know. His file said no dependents. His wife. Deceased. 4-5 years ago. Cancer, I think. Morrison's voice shifts into professional concern. Is the kid okay? Where is she? That's what I'm trying to determine. Patricia drives to the address on file. A modest brick building in Brooklyn, neighborhood gentrifying but not quite gentrified. The kind of place where longtime residents mix uneasily with young professionals priced out of Manhattan. The superintendent is watering plants in the lobby. Older man, suspicious eyes, thick Eastern European accent. Detective Chun. He shakes his head. Haven't seen him since. September? Maybe late September. He came, he went. Worked crazy hours. But then, nothing. He gestures upward. The girl, though? She's still here. I see her with the dogs every morning. 6 big dogs. Police dogs, I think. She's alone. The superintendent shrugs. I assumed family was helping. Grandmother, maybe? Someone's paying the rent. Checks come on time, always the first of the month. Someone's taking care of things. But Patricia knows better. She's seen enough cases to recognize the signs. An 8-year-old doesn't just have help. An 8-year-old can't maintain an apartment, care for 6 dogs, attend school, and keep up appearances without cracks showing. And Maya's cracks are showing. Patricia returns to her car and opens a new case file. Maya Chun, age 8. Father missing. Mother deceased. No known relatives. 6 dogs. Living alone. She types. Asterisk immediate home visit required. Potential removal necessary pending investigation. Asterisk. Then she sits in the cold car, staring at the building, watching the 3rd floor window where a light just turned on. Somewhere up there, a little girl is pretending everything is fine. Patricia knows what comes next. She wishes she didn't. Patricia arrives at Lexington Avenue at 6:30 a.m., parked 3 cars down from Maya's building, coffee going cold in her hand. The street is dark except for scattered streetlights and the bodega's neon glow. She waits. At 6:47 exactly, the building door opens. What emerges makes Patricia's breath catch. A tiny girl in a pink jacket, almost swallowed by it, leading 6 German shepherds that outweigh her combined. But it's not chaos. It's choreography. 3 dogs flank her left, 3 her right, moving in synchronized steps like they've rehearsed this 1,000 times. The child's posture is straight, focused, her small hands gripping leather leashes wrapped in some kind of professional configuration. They move down the sidewalk. Cars slow. A jogger stops, staring. Maya doesn't acknowledge any of it. Just walks, her pace steady, her face blank with concentration. Patricia follows at a distance, watching. The dogs never pull, never strain. When Maya stops at the corner, they sit without command. When she crosses the street, they match her stride perfectly. This isn't a child walking dogs. This is something else entirely. Training. Discipline. Military precision executed by an 8-year-old who should be worried about homework and cartoons. But Patricia also sees what others might miss. The way Maya's shoulders slump when she thinks no one's watching. How she pauses at the park entrance, leaning against the fence for just a moment, eyes closing. The tremor in her hands when she unwraps the leashes at the fountain to let the dogs stretch. She's exhausted. Visibly, profoundly exhausted. Patricia watches the entire 42-minute route, then returns to the neighborhood to ask questions. Mr. Park at the bodega is friendly, helpful, sweet girl, very polite, comes every morning for the dogs. And her parents? The father, I think. Detective. Works hard. Long hours. He packages up day-old bread without being asked, like it's routine. He picks her up from school sometimes. I see them walking past. Patricia writes this down. You've seen the father? Recently. Mr. Park's certainty wavers. Well, I see someone. Tall man. Police jacket. Must be him, right? When was the last time you actually saw him? The question hangs. Mr. Park thinks. Thinks harder. Maybe summer? I don't know. I see the girl every day, so I just assumed. At the cafe, Jessica is wiping down tables. Maya? Oh, she's adorable. I leave her hot chocolate every morning. Do you know her parents? Her mom travels a lot. Business trips, I think. California? Or maybe it was Colorado. Maya mentioned it once. Jessica smiles. Her dad makes her breakfast before school. She told me he makes the best pancakes. You've met him? No. But she talks about him like he's around. Like he's there. Jessica's smile fades slightly. Wait. Why are you asking? Is something wrong? Patricia interviews 6 more neighbors. The stories fracture under scrutiny. Her grandmother watches her after school, says the woman in 4B. Her aunt helps with the dogs, claims the man who works the late shift at the corner store. Her dad picks her up every Tuesday, insists the crossing guard. But when Patricia presses for details, what does the grandmother look like? When did you last see the aunt? Can you describe the father? The certainty crumbles. No one has actually seen these people. They've seen Maya, always Maya, and their brains have filled in the gaps with assumptions because the alternative is too disturbing to consider. A child alone is unthinkable, so they thought around it. Patricia returns to Mrs. Levine's building last. The old woman who watches from the window. She climbs 3 flights, knocks on the door. Mrs. Levine opens it slowly, walker in hand, eyes sharp behind thick glasses. You're here about the girl, she says before Patricia can introduce herself. Not a question, a statement. Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Levine steps aside, gestures to the window overlooking Lexington Avenue. The view is perfect, unobstructed, a surveillance point. I watch every morning, she says quietly. For 3 months now. Every single morning, that baby walks those dogs alone. No parent, no guardian, just her. Her voice cracks. I kept waiting for someone else to notice. Kept thinking I was wrong, that I was just an old woman imagining things. But I'm not wrong, am I? No, ma'am, Patricia says. You're not wrong. Mrs. Levine's hands tighten on her walker. What happens now? Patricia looks out the window at the street below, where somewhere a little girl is holding together a life that's already fallen apart. Now I have to fix it, she says. Even if fixing it breaks Maya's heart. Patricia sits in Captain Morrison's office at the 84th precinct, surrounded by file boxes marked Chun, James, case hashtag 2024, N, 4782. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. Coffee goes cold in styrofoam cups. And piece by piece, the truth assembles itself like shrapnel. He volunteered for it. Morrison says, flipping through incident reports. Trafficking ring. Eastern European operation, moving girls through Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan. We'd been building the case for 18 months, but we couldn't get inside. Needed someone without ties, someone who could disappear into deep cover without raising flags. He had a daughter. Patricia's voice is flat. Morrison's jaw tightens. His file said no dependents. Marital status, widowed. Emergency contact, none listed. We did our due diligence. We checked. He slides a personnel form across the desk. The line for dependents is blank. Deliberately blank. He lied. He protected her. Morrison corrects quietly. If the targets knew he had a daughter, she'd become leverage. A vulnerability. So he erased her from the official record. Kept her completely separate from his work life. He pauses. We thought we were deploying a lone wolf. We didn't know we were taking away somebody's father. Patricia pulls another file. Maya's mother, Catherine Chun, née Wright, died February 2021. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Diagnosis to death in 7 weeks. Maya was 3 years old. So he raised her alone, Patricia says. For 5 years, yeah. Single dad. Made it work somehow. Morrison pulls up emails on his computer. Look at this. He requested schedule changes 6 times in the past 2 years. Always citing personal obligations. We assumed he had a girlfriend, maybe night classes. Never thought. A little girl waiting at home. Patricia traces the timeline. September 28th, James Chun gets briefed on the undercover operation. September 30th, he goes dark. October 3rd, last confirmed sighting. A burner phone call to his handler, establishing his cover identity. Then nothing. What was the plan? Patricia asks. How long was he supposed to be under? 6 to 8 weeks initially. But these operations, they evolve. Sometimes assets need to stay embedded longer to maintain credibility. Morrison rubs his face. We have protocols. Check-ins every 72 hours through secure channels. He checked in twice. September 30th and October 3rd. Both times he said he was establishing trust, making connections. Both times he said everything was fine. And then, radio silence. Complete blackout. Morrison pulls up a map marked with locations. We've had surveillance on suspected meeting points. We've tracked financial movements. We've interviewed informants. Nothing. James Chun vanished into the operation like smoke. Do you think he's alive? The question sits between them, heavy and inevitable. Morrison's silence is answer enough. Patricia's mind goes to Maya, 8 years old, waking up that first morning after her father left. Maybe he told her it was a business trip. Maybe he said he'd be back soon. Maybe he promised. And Maya believed him. Of course she believed him. He was her dad. Her only parent. Her entire world. So when days turned into weeks, when weeks turned into months, Maya made a choice. Not the choice a child should have to make, but the only choice that made sense to an 8-year-old operating on hope and desperation. She didn't tell anyone. Didn't call for help. Didn't admit he was gone. Because admitting it meant losing everything. Meant foster care. Meant strangers. Meant losing the apartment, the dogs, the life her father built. Meant giving up on the belief that he'd walk through the door any moment and everything would go back to normal. So instead, she kept his secret. Became invisible. Forged signatures. Crafted phantom parents from neighborhood assumptions. Walked 6 police dogs every morning because Dad trusted her with them. And she couldn't let him down. She kept the faith. She kept the routine. She kept waiting. Patricia closes the files, her chest tight. She's been alone for 3 months. 3 months. And nobody knew. Nobody wanted to know. Morrison says quietly. It's easier that way. Patricia stands, gathering the documentation she'll need. The evidence. The proof. The ammunition to do what has to be done. I need to bring her in, she says. Today. Morrison nods. Doesn't argue. Can't argue. They both know there's no other choice. But knowing doesn't make it easier. Patricia walks to her car, files heavy in her arms, and thinks about a little girl in a pink jacket, walking 6 dogs through Brooklyn streets at dawn, holding on to hope with both hands. She thinks about what happens when you have to rip that hope away. Patricia arrives at 3:47 p.m., The worst possible time. School's out. Maya will be home. Two uniformed officers flank her, not for intimidation, but protocol. Child removal cases require police presence. Just in case. She wishes it didn't have to be this way. Wishes she could do this gently, quietly, without the weight of authority bearing down. But there's no gentle way to dismantle a child's world. They climb the stairs to the third floor. Patricia's hand is raised to knock when she hears it, movement inside. Fast, frantic. The skitter of claws on hardwood. Then Maya's voice, high and desperate. No. No, 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 no. She saw them. From the window, she saw them coming. Patricia knocks anyway. Maya? My name is Patricia Evans. I'm with Child Protective Services. I need to talk to you, sweetheart. Can you open the door? Silence. Then the sound of leashes jingling. Metal clips snapping onto collars. All six. Fast. Maya, please. I just want to help. The door opens 6 inches, chain lock engaged. Maya's face appears in the gap. Pale, terrified, her brown eyes too wide. Behind her, 6 German shepherds stand in formation, ears up, alert. My dad's at work, Maya says, voice shaking but rehearsed. He'll be home at 6. You can come back then. Patricia's heart breaks. Still lying. Still holding onto the story. Maya, I know your dad isn't coming home at 6. I know he's been gone for 3 months. I know you've been alone. Maya's face crumbles. Just for a second. Then hardens. You don't know anything. I know you're scared. I know you're trying to keep things together. But Maya, you can't stay here alone anymore. We need to. The door slams. The chain rattles. And then Patricia hears the back door open, the fire escape. She's running, one officer shouts. They take the stairs at a sprint, burst into the alley behind the building just in time to see Maya hit the pavement, 6 leashes wrapped around her wrists, 6 dogs pulling her forward with the momentum of escape. She's fast, adrenaline fast, but she's also 8 years old with 40 pounds on her and 6 animals that together weigh more than 400 pounds. Maya, stop. Patricia runs after her. But Maya doesn't stop. Can't stop. She cuts left onto the sidewalk, the dogs flowing around pedestrians like water, people jumping aside with startled shouts. She's heading for the park. Open space. Somewhere to hide, maybe. Somewhere that isn't here, isn't this moment, isn't the end of everything. But where does a child run in Brooklyn? Where can you hide with 6 massive German shepherds? Everywhere she goes, people stare. Point. Pull out phones. The dogs sense her panic. Their training kicks in, protect the handler, assess threats, neutralize danger. When Patricia gets too close, Rex wheels around, lips pulling back from teeth, a warning growl rumbling from his chest. The other 5 follow his lead, forming a barrier between Maya and the social worker. Easy, Patricia says, hands up. Easy, boy. I'm not going to hurt her. But the dogs don't know that. They only know their girl is afraid, and afraid means danger, and danger means defend. Maya's gasping now, trying to catch her breath, trying to think. Her legs are shaking. The leash is cut into her wrists. People are gathering. Mr. Park emerging from the bodega, Jessica running from the cafe, neighbors stepping out of buildings. Maya, Mr. Park calls. What's happening? Maya looks at him. At Jessica. At the growing crowd of faces she's seen every morning for 3 months. Faces that smiled and waved and never asked too many questions. They're taking me away, she says, voice breaking. They're taking me away from my dad's dogs and I promised I'd take care of them. I promised I'd be here when he comes home. The dogs press closer to her, a wall of fur and muscle and loyalty. Patricia takes a slow step forward. Maya, I know you made a promise. I know you've been so brave. But sweetheart, you can't keep doing this. You're 8 years old. You need help. I need my dad. Maya screams, and the sound is raw, primal, a wound torn open. I need my dad, and he's coming back, and if I'm not here he won't know where I am and... Her voice breaks completely. She collapses to her knees on the sidewalk, still gripping the leashes, and the 6 dogs immediately surround her, pressing against her small body, trying to comfort what they can't understand. The crowd stands frozen, watching, finally seeing, finally understanding what's been hidden in plain sight all along. The street transforms into a stage. Witnesses become participants. The invisible lines that separate New Yorkers, the unspoken rule of minding your own business, dissolve in the face of a child on her knees, sobbing into the fur of 6 dogs who can't save her. Mr. Park is first. He steps off the curb, still wearing his bodega apron, hands stained with produce. Wait, what is this? What are you doing? Patricia turns, professional mask in place. Sir, this is Child Protective Services business. Please step back. Business. Mr. Park's accent thickens with anger. This is a child. This is Maya. What business? Jessica arrives, breathless, still holding a dish rag from the cafe. Where are you taking her? She lives here. Her father. Her father is missing, Patricia says, and the words land like grenades. Has been missing for 3 months. Maya's been living alone. We're placing her in protective custody until 3 months. Jessica's face goes white. No, that's not her mom. Her mother's dead. Has been for 5 years. The crowd swells. The woman from 4B. The late shift worker. The crossing guard. People Maya has seen every day but never really known, and who never really knew her. They emerge from buildings, from cars stopped in traffic, from the park where the commotion has drawn attention. Mrs. Levine arrives last, walker scraping against pavement, moving faster than Patricia would have thought possible for a woman her age. She plants herself directly between Patricia and Maya, 5 feet of elderly determination. You're not taking this child, Mrs. Levine says. Her voice carries the weight of courtrooms, of decades making decisions about people's lives. Not like this. Not in the street like some kind of criminal. Ma'am, with all respect, this isn't your decision, isn't it? Mrs. Levine's eyes are steel. I'm a retired family court judge. 23 years on the bench. And what I see here is a child who's been failed by every system meant to protect her. Her father's department didn't know she existed. Her school didn't notice the signs. Her neighbors, us, we didn't ask the right questions. She gestures at the crowd. And now you want to fix 3 months of failure with 5 minutes of authority. One of the police officers shifts uncomfortably. Judge Levine, I didn't recognize you. Officer Martinez, you testified in my courtroom in 2019. Domestic violence case. Mrs. Levine doesn't break eye contact with Patricia. You did good work that day. I hope you'll do good work today too. Which means thinking about what's best for this child, not what's easiest for the system. Maya is still on the ground, the dogs pressed against her like a living fortress. Rex stands at the front, hackles raised, watching every movement. Titan and Shadow flank the sides. Luna, Bear, and Bella create the rear guard. Their training is evident. This is defensive positioning, protection formation. I have a court order, Patricia says, but her voice wavers. This isn't how these things usually go. Usually there's compliance. Resignation. Maybe tears, but not this. Not a street full of people standing between her and the child. A court order based on what evidence? Mrs. Levine demands. That she's been caring for herself competently for 3 months? That she's maintained her father's apartment, attended school, kept 6 police dogs alive and healthy? That sounds like capability to me, not neglect. She's 8 years old. She's also this community's responsibility. Mr. Park steps closer. We failed her. We let her be invisible. Now you want to make her disappear completely. I want to keep her safe. Safe. Jessica's voice cracks. You're going to put her in a foster home with strangers? Take her away from the only neighborhood she knows? Separate her from those dogs, the only family she has left? The crowd murmurs agreement. More people arrive. Someone's filming on their phone. A news van pulls up. Someone called the media, probably. This is becoming a spectacle. A incident. Exactly what Patricia wanted to avoid. This is procedure. Patricia tries again. There are rules. Protocols. A child cannot live unsupervised. Then supervise her here. Mrs. Levine interrupts. Emergency guardianship. I'll file the paperwork tonight. Temporary custody pending investigation of the father's whereabouts. You can't just. I can. I know every judge in Brooklyn Family Court. I know the law. And I know that removing a child from a stable situation into the chaos of emergency foster placement is traumatic at best, destructive at worst. Mrs. Levine plants her walker more firmly. This child has kept herself alive against impossible odds. She deserves better than being treated like a problem to be processed. Patricia looks at Maya, still surrounded by her canine guardians. Looks at the crowd, 20 people now, maybe more. Looks at the police officers who seem increasingly uncertain about their role in this. Please, Maya whispers, voice hoarse from crying. Please don't take me away. Please. I'll be good. I'll do better. Just please. The street holds its breath, waiting for Patricia's decision, waiting to see if the system bends or breaks. Maya's legs give out. Not dramatically, just a slow fold, like a building losing structural integrity floor by floor. She sits hard on the pavement, leashes still wrapped around her wrists, and the dogs whine in confusion because their handler is supposed to be strong, supposed to lead, supposed to know what to do. But Maya doesn't know what to do anymore. She's so tired. 3 months of tired compressed into one moment. And it's too much, too heavy. Her 8-year-old shoulders finally buckling under weight they were never meant to carry. I did everything right, she says, and her voice is small, breaking. I followed the schedule. Dad's schedule. Wake up at 6. Feed them 1.5 cups each. Rex gets joint supplement. Walk 42 minutes. Same route, every day. They need routine. Dad said they need routine, or they get anxious. The crowd is silent. Even the traffic noise seems muted. I signed the permission slips. I went to school. I did my homework. Maya's words come faster, spilling out like something damned finally rupturing. I paid the rent. He left checks, pre-signed checks, and I just had to mail them on the 1st of every month. I kept the apartment clean. I remembered to lock the door. I turned off the stove. I did everything he taught me. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with dirt from the sidewalk. I even used his commands. The German ones he taught the dogs. Sits for sit. Platz for down. Bleib for stay. Her voice cracks. I say them just like he did, the same way, the same tone, because the dogs remember, and if I say them right they listen, and it's like he's still here, like he's still. She can't finish. The sob tears out of her, raw and animal. Mrs. Levine moves closer, one hand reaching out, but Maya doesn't see her. She's somewhere else now, somewhere deep inside where she's kept everything locked away for 93 days. I sleep with his jacket, Maya whispers. His police jacket. The one he wore to work. It still smells like him. Like coffee and the cologne he uses and something else. Something that's just Dad. I put it on my pillow and sometimes I wake up and forget. Just for a second I forget he's gone. And then I remember, and it. Her small body shakes with sobs. I thought if I was good enough, if I kept everything perfect, he'd come home and see I didn't mess up. See I could handle it. See I was strong like he taught me. She looks up at Patricia, at Mrs. Levine, at the circle of neighbors watching. I promised him. The night before he left, he sat me down and he said, Maya, I need you to be brave. Can you be brave for me? And I said yes. I promised. The dogs pressed closer, licking her face, her hands, trying to comfort her with the only tools they have. He said he'd be back in a few weeks. He said it was just work. He said, Maya's voice breaks completely. He said he loved me. He said he'd always come back to me. He promised. She looks at the dogs, at Rex with his graying muzzle, at Titan with the scar on his shoulder, at Shadow and Luna and Bear and Bella, each one a piece of her father, each one a living reminder of what she's lost. I can't leave them. Don't you understand? They're all I have left of him. When he comes home, if he comes home, and I'm not here, and they're not here, he'll think I gave up. He'll think I didn't keep my promise. Maya. Patricia starts, but her own voice is thick. I didn't give up. Maya screams, and the sound is primal, desperate. I didn't give up. I'm still waiting. I'm still here. I kept my promise. She collapses forward, forehead pressed against Rex's shoulder, and the German shepherd, trained for protection, for aggression, for law enforcement, does the gentlest thing. He lowers his head and rests it on top of hers. The other 5 close in, creating a cocoon of warmth and fur around the breaking child. And Maya cries. Cries like she hasn't let herself cry in 3 months. Cries for her father who vanished. For her mother who died when she was too young to remember. For the childhood she's lost. For the impossible burden she's carried alone. She cries until there's nothing left. The neighborhood watches, and finally, truly sees her. Not the curiosity with the dogs. Not the oddity they smiled at from a distance. But a child. Alone. Terrified. Holding on to hope with bloody fingers because letting go means admitting the truth she can't survive. That her father might never come home. That she might be alone forever. That some promises, no matter how hard you try, can't be kept. Mrs. Levine files the paperwork at 8:47 a.m. the next morning, before the courthouse even officially opens. Emergency petition for temporary guardianship. She knows the clerks, knows the judges, knows exactly which strings to pull and how hard to pull them. This is highly irregular. Judge Patterson says when she calls his chambers directly. So is an 8-year-old successfully maintaining a household for 3 months, Mrs. Levine replies. David, I'm not asking you to ignore protocol. I'm asking you to recognize that sometimes the right thing and the legal thing need to meet in the middle. The petition is approved by noon. Temporary guardianship, pending full investigation. Conditions. Maya remains in her home under Mrs. Levine's supervision, with daily check-ins from CPS. The dogs stay. The search for James Chun continues with renewed urgency. But Mrs. Levine doesn't do it alone. Mr. Park and his wife sign on as co-sponsors within hours. We have extra room, Mrs. Park says, though her English is halting. Maya can eat dinner with us. Every night. She shouldn't cook alone. Jessica creates a fund, handwritten sign in the cafe window. Maya's fund. Help a neighbor in need. By the end of the week, it's raised $4,000. People who walked past Maya every morning for months suddenly can't give enough. The real miracle comes from the 84th precinct. Captain Morrison calls an emergency meeting with the K-9 unit. Officers who worked alongside James Chun, who trained with him, who considered him family. When they learn about Maya, about the dogs, about 3 months of a child caring for their brother's legacy, the response is immediate. Those dogs don't go to shelters, Officer Rodriguez says. They don't get separated. They're retired K-9s. They're family. If Maya can't keep them, we will. Every single one. But it doesn't come to that. The K-9 unit files a formal petition arguing that Rex, Titan, Shadow, Luna, Bear, and Bella are not pets, but working animals with specific training, that separating them would be psychologically damaging, that Maya has demonstrated exceptional handling capability. They offer to provide ongoing support, food, vet care, continued training. She's one of us now, Officer Martinez tells Patricia during a home visit. Chen's daughter is K-9's daughter. Patricia watches this community mobilize around one child and feels something shift in her chest. She's removed dozens of children from homes. It's her job. It's what she's trained to do. But she's never seen this. Never seen a neighborhood transform itself into a safety net. She writes her recommendation carefully. Asterisk, unprecedented circumstances require unprecedented solutions. Maya Chun has demonstrated resilience and capability beyond her years. The community has demonstrated commitment to her welfare. Recommends supervised placement in current home with regular monitoring. Asterisk. 3 weeks later, the final approval comes through. Patricia delivers the news herself, climbing the stairs to the 3rd-floor apartment where Maya has been living in limbo, uncertain if each day might be her last in the only home she's ever known. Maya opens the door, the dogs at her side, and Patricia sees the question in her eyes before the child can ask it. You're staying, Patricia says simply. You and the dogs. You're staying. Maya's knees buckle. Mrs. Levine catches her, holds her while she cries, different tears this time. Relief. Disbelief. Hope. The morning walks continue. 6:47 a.m., like clockwork. But now they're different. Sometimes Mr. Park joins, walking beside Maya in comfortable silence, occasionally pointing out the first blooms of spring. Sometimes Jessica comes, bringing hot chocolate for both of them, chatting about her day before the cafe opens. Sometimes Mrs. Levine makes the trek, walker and all, moving slowly but steadily beside the girl and her canine army. The neighborhood watches differently now. Not with curiosity, but with ownership. She's theirs. They failed her once. They won't fail her again. Maya still sleeps with her father's jacket. Still follows his schedule with military precision. Still waits. But she's not waiting alone anymore. One evening, 6 weeks after everything changed, Maya sits at the park's dinner table, a regular spot now, 3 nights a week. Mrs. Park serves bulgogi and rice, and Mr. Park asks about school, and their teenage son shows Maya a video game he's playing. It's normal. Beautifully, mundanely normal. You know, Mr. Park says carefully, your father would be proud of you. Maya looks up, rice bowl in hand. You kept his dogs safe. You kept his home. You kept his faith. Mr. Park's eyes are gentle. But Maya, he would also want you to be a child. To let people help. To not carry everything yourself. Maya's throat tightens. What if he comes back and I'm not? What if I'm different? Then he'll see you're stronger, Mrs. Park says softly. Strong enough to accept love. That night, walking home with Mrs. Levine's hand resting lightly on her shoulder, 6 dogs in perfect formation beside them, Maya realizes something. She's still waiting for her father. But she's also living. And maybe, just maybe, that's what keeping a promise really means.